social.
Sorry.
That's right. I've been running marketing companies here in the UK now for 14 years in total. And over that time, I've helped over 1,500 businesses with their online and offline marketing strategies. And really, what we want to discuss today is how you can utilize social media. It's really the main objective is to get more admissions for your schools. Social media, as we know, has become just hugely popular and actually really just part of day-to-day life. But when it comes to social media, especially from a marketeer's perspective, sometimes we forget why we're doing it. And we get in this rut of, oh, I need to post this ad because the stakeholders tell me I need to post, or I need to spend some money on ads or boost because I have to, and it's part of my job role. But why are you doing it? And the number one rule, which is people forget, is it going to engage the user on that platform? That's the only rule you need to actually abide by when you're running social media at all, whether it be paid or organic. Are you going to keep the user on that platform, and are you going to keep them engaged? Because if you don't, Facebook or these other platforms probably or might not actually show your ads, whether it be paid or organic, to that audience because they're not engaging it. Facebook are now competing with TikTok. TikTok are competing with YouTube. YouTube are competing with Twitter. They're all trying to vie for this pie of everyday users on their platform. So remember, if you're running any social media, why are you doing it? And really, the number one rule which you've always got to abide by is, are you keeping the user engaged on the platform? But to do that, you've got to understand the platforms, and there's so many now. I've put a few of them there, which is, you've got Meta, Facebook, and Instagram. You've got the TikTok, which is just blowing up, over the last 18 months. LinkedIn, you've got Twitter, you've got YouTube. They're all different forms of social media. And to be able to use them, you've got to understand the functionality and the features of those to be able to really be able to use them correctly so that you can use, and again, use your school's content to engage that user. Because if you don't, the content's not going to be native. And when someone goes to a certain platform for an experience, they're not going to get that experience and then go elsewhere. So you've got to remember, actually, not only keep them engaged, but to keep them engaged, am I serving the right content in the right type of places? And that's the biggest thing we find when we put out, as an agency, we put our head under the bonnet, which is actually, do they understand the platforms? TikTok is a whole different ballgame than Instagram, and Instagram's a whole different ballgame than Facebook. I wrote a list of every feature of every platform, and I think I was on about 200 at one point. It's absolutely huge. So that's one thing we really see. But in terms of when you're running paid ads on these platforms, there's three things that social media giants look for when you're running ads, and this is something not a lot of people know about. And again, we like to give you action, so please don't make notes during this presentation. But when you're running a paid ad, and you may do a boost as well, and that runs as paid as well, which is they'll look for three things. The first being ad quality. Is the ad content good? So it may be a video, it may be a static, it may be a carousel. Is it good quality? Is it blurry? Is it pixelated, the video? Is it good quality? And if it is, that'll give them a rating. If it's bad, obviously, it'll give you a lower rating. The second thing they'll look at is estimated action rates. Now, this isn't just likes. This isn't just commentary. This isn't just sort of people sharing it. This is actually, is it stopping people scrolling? Because again, our phones are so intelligent now, it picks that up. Are they clicking more now to read more of your content? So it'll start looking at, and they'll know this, Facebook's algorithm is so intelligent, all of them are. It'll know before you put that ad live, the estimated action rate. And then the last thing it'll look for is bid market, which is how long are you willing to run that ad for? Because what Facebook and these other platforms want is marketers, and they want a good lifetime value from you as a school, or from us as a marketing agency. They don't want ads going on, off all the time. What they want is to see consistency. So they'll start looking at your account and going, well, you're only spending sort of bits here or bits there. You're turning stuff off all the time before it even has the algorithm actually has time to learn. So actually, we're going to score you on that. And what they'll do is that will give you an overall score, and that will determine how good your ad is. It'll actually determine what your CPM is, which we'll go into in a second. And it takes up to 6 months to really get an ad account running consistently. We all see on, I don't know how many of you, do research on YouTube and these other platforms where you're looking for, how to run a Facebook ad, and you see all these videos, which is, oh, in a week will be a millionaire, or you'll get these admissions, and it's just not true. You can get lucky and get the odd win, and you will win in that 6 months time. You will get and meet some of the objectives that you've set. But again, to get that real consistency, it will take around 6 months. And there will also be some ups and downs. You will see some ads that work. You will see some ads that don't work. You'll see some CPMs high. You'll see CPMs low, some commentary, some non-commentaries, lots of likes and unlikes. It will be up and down. So don't be afraid when you are running ads to see those ups and downs, because it will just happen. But just bear in mind that it will take around 6 months to get ad account ready up to scratch in terms of who the audience you're trying to target. But then what does that all sort of mean, I guess, for you as a marketer? Well, if you're spending money on these platforms and you're keeping people engaged and you're using the algorithm and all the cool stuff, you will actually get a cheaper CPM. Now, a CPM is the cost per 1,000 impressions. That's how we get charged by these platforms. So you as a good marketer, you will actually get a cheaper CPM than someone who's a bad marketer. Now, if you're not keeping people engaged and you're not keeping people on the platform, and they are going across to TikTok when you're running Facebook ads, well, actually what they'll do is they'll try and price you out the market. So you'll see your CPMs keep increasing to the point where you as a school go, well, actually, this isn't commercially viable for me now, so I'll turn it off, which is why we hear on a lot of occasions, Facebook ads or social media didn't work for me. Because what they haven't done is kept people engaged on the platform. So if you have run ads in the past, it'd be really interesting to sort of go back and look at those and go, actually, was it engaging the ones that didn't work? And probably a lot of the time reason is actually, no, it wasn't, which is why your CPMs were high. So again, remember, if you're getting a really cheap CPM, you're doing your job. You know, you're feeding into the algorithm. And then you've got the 3% there, which is the scary part of social media when it comes to followers. Now, I don't know how many schools are here who have stakeholders that go, we need more followers, we need more followers. Well, unfortunately, on average, when you post organically, only 3% of your following will even see that post, which is why when you look at your post analytics in the back end, you'll always see that the reach is not the volume of followers you've got, it's always lower. And that's because Facebook and these other social media platforms deem your ad not to be engaging. So even though they're following you as a school, and clearly there's an interest there, Facebook are making that decision not to show your ad or your organic post to that audience because it's not going to engage them. Because again, back to that engagement piece, what's the number one? Keep them engaged. So you've got to really remember when you're posting, even if it's organically or you're running a paid ad, am I keeping the user engaged? And if you're not, my sort of one of my answers is, really think if you need to do it. I know it's hard, especially from an organic piece, because you've got people that always want to see ads going organic posts going constantly. But sometimes it's really just understanding, actually, is it worth our time? Because create organic posts takes a lot of resource, whether it be copy and creative. But if you do all the good stuff right, so you get cheaper CPMs and you keeping people engaged on the platform, things happen, and it's really simple what happens. You get increase in sales or leads or admissions, as if it were for you guys. You get better quality admissions, because what's happened is you've actually served them content that's engaging, that's going to bring them into the school and understand your ethos and why you're different than someone down the road. So they get actually the better quality parents because they've engaged with that content. You're going to get a cheaper cost. So your lead cost will reduce because you've done all the good things. You've reduced your CPMs, you've kept them engaged, and that will just keep reducing for the entirety of your campaign. You should then, in theory, get a higher lead conversion rate, because if you're engaging parents in this occasion and with really good content, they've really bought into the school before they've even come to the open days, well, actually, your lead conversion rate should be a lot higher than it is before. Your click-through rate and lead form rate is one as well. It will just increase because, again, if you've got good content going to the right audiences, in this occasion, parents, you're going to get a higher click-through rate. And 4 hours there is a huge number, but it's a number of hours that an average UK adult will spend on social media every day. So the parents are on these platforms. So we want to be using these platforms to get them engaged in your schools, and really, just like I said, serve them content that's going to engage them. But that 4 hours is a massive number, an absolutely huge number. And it's something that we need to be all be conscious of, is that, you know, we'll all run PPC. We'll probably do a lot of out of home, whether it be buses or it be leaflet drops, local newspapers. But 4 hours a day on social media is where you can really get some good bang for your buck. So if you haven't yet started using paid for admissions, it's definitely something I'd be recommending. And then when I said there about sort of lead forms, now I don't know how most of you create your leads, probably through your website or using things like Campus, and they work brilliantly. But actually what we're finding at the moment is using in-app social media forms are creating some very, very low costs at the moment. And the reason is, you know, some of the reasons I've put here today is that you're keeping people on the platform, and that's what these social media platform want. So rather than taking them away somewhere, what you're doing is keeping them here and actually putting in their details. And Facebook forms and these other in-app forms now have come a long way. A few years ago, to be very transparent, they were rubbish. The lead quality was bad. They weren't very customizable. They were a bit clunky. They looked ugly. So from a user X perspective, you'd click on the form and go, oh, I don't trust this. Even though it's Facebook, you'd look at it and go, yeah, that's not for me. Now they're brilliant. They're so customizable. You can put any length of questions in there you want. So it might be how many children you've got. It might be your postcode. It might be what budget you've got. Again, a number of questions, but it's all down to what you want that pre-filled form to be. And what you can also do is actually put some disqualifiers in there. So if they don't have a child of a certain age, potentially, you could actually disqualify them and send them to a page or a little note that just says, right now, we're not not interested in you, or vice versa. We'll put you on the mailing list for further information. So again, you can really customize them. Landing pages still work and things like Campus 24, absolutely. But since the iOS update, we are seeing in terms of tracking, it'd be a lot harder. So even though Facebook ads work for 99% of businesses, when it comes to tracking, there are some issues with sending people away to things like landing pages or websites, but they are getting better, especially in the last probably 6 months with the API server conversion. So again, that's something to look at in the future. But if you're using paid and you haven't yet tested Facebook forms, it's something that I would just really recommend, because like I said, in terms of costs and cost per lead, they're coming out at a very cheap cost at the moment. Split testing is something that we all do, or we may do, maybe in email marketing, even with PPC or even landing pages. What people rarely do is do it on social media, especially from a paid perspective. And it's interesting because when you look at PPC, pay-per-click versus social, it's always sort of PPC is the the dominant, that's going to get us the leads, and else your split test there to you're blue in the face. But actually, normally it's on social media, and it's amazing because you can test so cheaply on social media because the CPM costs are so cheap. You're looking at around, I don't know, average CPM cost is say £5. It's going to cost you £5 to get your message or your content in front of 1,000 parents in your area. That's really cheap. If you really want to test copy and creative, what isn't going to work before you go and spend a load of money out of home or even maybe TV or radio, why don't you test that on social media prior to getting that signed off and going live? And here's an example for one of our clients. So Plan International is a large charity. And you can see here that actually for just 2 pieces of creative and 2 pieces of copy, you've got 8 ads there. Now, even on a small £5 each, that's going to cost you £40 to test that amount of content and creative, which is fantastic, absolutely brilliant. So again, if it's not something you've done in the past, again, it's something I definitely recommend. And if you want any help with split testing, I can help you on that. But again, split testing, if you haven't yet done it from a paid perspective, is something I really recommend, especially if you're using and spending larger budgets on things like out of home, TV, radio, and even mailers, because we know mailers, in comparison to Facebook and these other social platforms, are a lot cheaper. Video. Now, we've seen the rise of TikTok over the last 18 months, 2 years, and video is an interesting one because it's now non-negotiable. It has to be in your arsenal. And I know the limitations with schools in terms of parents signing disclaimers and obviously having children in certain videos. But actually, this is where, as a school, you're going to really differentiate yourself to someone down the road, because you want to make your video engaging. And the normal stuff of, we've got good sporting facilities, we've got good music facilities, we've got smaller class sizes, we've got a TA in every room all day, or 90% of the time. That's all stuff that people expect now. But how are you going to look different down the road to the school down the road? And no one's doing video. And it's something that, I'm really passionate about, because it's authentic and you can get a real feel for a school via video. So you've got to create video content. If you're not, I would say just go and test it, go and do it, and try and get staff involved. So much goes on in a school every day. I hear from my other half what goes on, and there's tons that goes on, whether it's children's stories or stuff that's going on with staff, or outside, in the local community. There's tons and tons of video that you can create, but you've got to create it, because what it is also doing is getting you a cheaper cost. So I said about the CPM cost from a Facebook ad being around £5 at the moment. To get your ad in front of a video ad in front of 1,000 people at the moment, you're looking about £1.70. So that's even cheaper. And because video is so prevalent now, people are more inclined to watch it. Because not many schools are actually using video at the moment in the marketing, you're going to really stand out. Like, oh, God, what's that? And then you're going to start watching and start really building a bit of an audience that you can retarget and hopefully get some admissions from. So, video for me is absolutely massive. That's why you've got to create it. It's cheap and it's engaging. So again, going back to why we're on these social platforms, we're keeping them engaged, and video is going to keep someone a lot longer engaged than a static image or a carousel is. In terms of then where you're putting that video, well, all on your platforms. If you're looking from a paid perspective, you're going across TikTok, you're going across all the meta platforms, but you want to put it where your audience is. So it might be that your audience right now is sitting on Instagram and Facebook, and they've not yet adapted or converted to TikTok. Again, you'd have to do some analysis on where your parents or where your audience is sitting, but you want to be putting these videos where they're situating. And the types of videos that I recommend people creating, because this is the ones that get the most engagement, is sort of a value exchange or humor. Now, from a parent, they want to know what you can do for their child. So where's that exchange there? Well, it's telling them, again, about the music room and all the rest of it, but actually, how can we do that in a way that's engaging? You're going to keep a parent going, God, that school's so much better than these guys down the road. So you really want to try and get that value exchange. Or the second one is humor. Now, not many schools do humor, but so much happens in a school which is funny. Now, humor's hard to get out because it's very subjective. And obviously, as a school, I understand you'll have some limitations. But if you can try and get some humor into your content, again, no one's doing it in schools from a social perspective. So you're already going to stand out. If you look at TikTok and, across all of Meta, there's some teachers that have funny accounts. There's some influencers now that, actually left teaching to come and, do this full time, and there's so many funny stories that happens in a school. So if you can bring that into your social media, it will definitely help engage the audience. And again, sort of going back on to what we were saying originally, again, it's going to increase your audience and awareness and hopefully decrease your CPMs from a paid perspective. And here's just some costs. So here's some costs I wanted to just run through in terms of the CPM. So if you are running video ads at the moment, this is what we're seeing in terms of cost. So 2p cost per playthrough. So that's getting someone to watch 3 or more seconds of your video. It's costing around 70p per page view. So that's someone actually clicking on that ad once they've watched that video and then gone to your landing page or your website or Campus 24. And then actually what we do see is that from someone that's watched a video in comparison to a static image or a carousel, their conversion rate is 28% more likely because they've engaged with more content via video than they would a static image, which is a huge amount. So if you look at the volume of traffic you're currently getting to your websites, actually, if they were converting at 28% better, there's a huge more admissions and obviously leads for you there. And then again, in terms of cost, £1.55 and £1.75, which I mentioned just before, it's so cheap. There's no cheaper way to get your content in front of your audience right now. It's the cheapest method. And in terms of content, I've got just some examples here for you. Here you've got some talking to face ones, which is Sean and David here, some clients. But you've also got some, full-length video here. One of our clients, Braun. You've got a single date and pairing out, which is not one of our clients, which is a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, that particular bit of content there. Or you've just got an infographic, which is going on. But all of these work. They're very different types of content, and no one size fits all. But all of them are engaging to the audience that they're sitting in. If I look at the Playdate one, single parents, that's one of the questions. That's what they're going through. So again, if you can use these as an example, don't be looking down the road at what other people are doing. You're not them. Your school's very different. That's one of the things we see a lot of, is that people sort of copying what someone else is doing down the road. And for me, that's the worst thing to do. You're your school. You've got your own ethos, your own tone, your own brand. Work on that. Don't be looking down the road. And again, these clients we've got in front of us today all do that. They've got their own tone and they do what works for them. And actually what they've done with all of this is they storytell. So even that picture of a play date, the story that's being told on that picture. So again, just make sure that when you are producing this content, that it's your content. No one else's, and it's not basically you're not just copying someone down the road. And because content's hard to actually produce, something we're seeing work at the moment is sort of influencers and creators. Influencers are very different than creators. So we think of these influencers like Kim Kardashian and all these, these big celebrities. But actually now, if you look on things like TikTok or even Meta, there's some really big influencers, especially in sort of the mum market or even in the dads. Emma's Diary, who are one of our clients, we do a lot of user-generated content with these guys. And what's really interesting is that they don't like producing content themselves because no one in the office wants to. So we actually go out to creators and get them to create content for us. And I'm pretty sure that there'll be people within your sort of parents that would actually produce potentially some of this for you. And this is the reason behind it. I've got some stats for you here, which is 58% of consumers consider creators to be more likable, which is huge. If you're just going to do a video in-house in comparison to getting a mum or, again here, a creator, that's a huge percentage. 4 in 10 millennials say creators understand them more than their friends. And I think that's one for schools and your marketing, is that a parent that's got a child in your establishment does understand it more than potentially, the marketing team. So again, it's a lot more authentic. 85% of our adults consider their opinion before moving ahead with a product or service, which again, is huge, absolutely massive percentage there. And then 71% of adults say they made an inquiry because they trust the creator's opinion. So again, if you can use creators, and it's really not hard now. So if you found someone locally or you do some research, you'll find them really, really quickly, especially on TikTok. And a lot of these guys will do it for 50 quid, some up to 200, but it's a really good way of getting video content and actually getting creators then on board with you as a brand or a school. And again, if you look at these figures here, again, it makes commercial sense to actually try and get these in. But all of that needs to really make commercial sense. And commercialism, I use a word I use a huge amount here. And the reason I do is that a lot of people will run paid ads, they'll run social organic, and they don't know why they're doing it. And a lot of the time it is because there's stakeholders in the business that go, oh, I want to see this ad, or I haven't seen you on social, and it's part of your roster, which you're absolutely right, it's part of your job role as a marketing manager or marketing team. But why are you doing it? And do you know the numbers going into it? So if we look at it from an admission perspective, do you know how much you have to spend to get an admission, or what your budget per admission is? Now, if you know that, it's brilliant, because what you can start doing is reverse engineering in terms of budget and go, well, if it's £400 admission, we know that actually we can spend X in terms of inquiries. If your inquiry rate if your conversion rate is 1 in 4, okay, brilliant. We need to get to £100 a lead to be able to make this commercially viable. So really understand going into this, what is what is your objective, and actually what is, what is the numbers you need to adhere to make it commercially viable. And unfortunately, social media isn't easy. And the best combination is time, effort, and budget. It takes time to run social media, paid or organic even more so. And I think a lot of people, especially marketing teams, will go, oh yeah, we run the social as well. And you all know as marketeers here today, it's a huge amount of time, especially when you get an ad that goes really well or an organic post that goes well and you've got a load of commentary on it. It takes time to reply to the comments, then to do some more content. It's a huge amount of time. And then it's effort. You've got to, like we said earlier about the platforms are changing every single day, especially paid in an ads manager. The audiences are changing, how the algorithm changes. Again, in-app forms are now working better than landing pages. It's a constant learning. So you've got to really put some effort into that learning. And again, that's an hour or two a day, especially if you're not running ads constantly. It's part of your scope of work. It's really hard. There's some real effort that goes into that. And the last thing here is budget. It's not cheap to run Facebook ads or organic posts. It takes a lot of money and resource, whether it's a Canva subscription, whether it's time in terms of employee salary. It's a huge amount of budget. And then obviously if you've got paid, paid costs money. And especially if you're testing or you're split testing, again, that's more budget going out the door. So my recommendation is, if you haven't got one of those, really consider if social is something you want to continue with further down the line. I know that might sort of scare some people, which I hope it doesn't, but it's one of those where you can really quickly get down a rabbit hole and look back in 6 months' time and go, wow, we spent some real money there and actually didn't get much from it. So for me, just be really conscious and say, actually, have we got this? And if we haven't, how can we maybe just post a few times to keep stakeholders happy? But again, go into this with a really objective and just be really honest with yourselves, really. And then this one, I hope this doesn't offend anyone. So apologies if it does. So this is something I see a lot of, a huge amount of, is the person that's running the social media is typically the youngest person in the team. And we've given them that responsibility because they're on the phone all day. And although I like this slide and I don't like it in two ways, but it happens so often. And I then, go into a business and they'll say, yeah, James, or typically a young lady will be running it. And there's no knowledge apart from them being on their phone and using social media day to day. But would you give them the responsibility of your out of home and PPC? And the reality is no. Your social footprint now is more important than ever. We've seen over the last few weeks some influencers just get bamboozled because of some of their past. It's the same with schools. Your social footprint is so important. You've got to really make sure that what you're posting, whether it be paid or organic, is on point. It's in keeping with your ethos. And is that person an expert at social media? And the reality is, a lot of the time, they're probably not. It's just because they've sat on their phone and we think they're the best person for it. But can they implement a marketing strategy on social media? And if the answer is no, try and help them. Try and give them, there's so much content online, whether it be YouTube, whether it be podcasts, that they can learn from. So if I was to upskill anyone in a team, it would be the youngest person that is typically the social media manager. But again, I hope that didn't offend anyone, because sometimes it does. But like I said, for me, just make sure that social media is being seen in the same light as PPC, as out of home, as email marketing, because truly social media can be the difference between full admission or 70%. And then I did touch on this a little while ago, but it's okay to say that paid social or organic social isn't for you. It's not a bad thing. You just got to really, like I said, look at your numbers and go, can we make this commercially work? And if the answer is no, then again, you as a school will need to look at that and go, okay, do we keep doing it or do we just opt out completely? And again, some people may look at that and go, oh God, that's quite extreme. And you're absolutely right. But we as an agency will always look at things commercially. If commercially doesn't work, my recommendation would be to look at it in its entirety and say yes or no. But that's all the stuff about sort of Facebook, some video and all the rest of it. I hope some of that is useful. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to go through two, one's a funnel and one's a type of ad that actually you guys can set up if you're running paid ads yourself, and you can do that in-house without the help of anyone or any agency like myself. After this call, if anyone would like the PDFs of these, please shout out. I can pop them across to you. But the first one is basically a free ad strategy, like I said. So I don't like top, middle, or bottom because I think they're overdone now as marketers. So the first one we've got is the snare. So the snare, what I want to do here is actually, I want you to create a quick video ad, and I want you to put that to an audience or a local area to where you're trying to get admissions. And the key thing here is that it's got to be a video ad. It's got to be a quick tip or basic advice for a parent. Now, we've got two objectives here. All we want people to do is either watch it or skip it. That's all we want them to do. And I'll tell you why in a second when we go into the next part of the funnel. But the video view, well, the ad objective here is video view. So rather than looking at conversion or optimization, what we're looking at here is video views. And what we're going to do is create two custom audiences from this video. We're going to create one that's watched 3 or more seconds in the last 30 days, and one that's watched 3 or more seconds in the last five days. And it will make sense in a second why we've done that. So again, I've got some examples here of some videos. You'll see that there's some, Bronwyn down the bottom, which is just camera to phone to camera. So again, the Jessup here has done the slick one. You've got Dave and Shah over here. So again, really, really easy to produce. You can do this in-house. You can even use your phones. These phones we've got now are brilliant. So this is something we can do. So you've got the snare, which is the top funnel, and we've got people to watch. Now, what we're going to do is we're now going to serve an ad to those that have watched 3 or more seconds in the last 30 days. And this has to be a sort of offer now. Obviously, this is sort of, you can't give 25% or 50% off your service. Of course you can. But we call it the doorbuster. And it's got to be a clear offer or promotion. And this can be a video or an image. We prefer video. We see a conversion work better at video here. But the ad objective here is conversion. So we've asked Facebook not just to go out for video views. Now they've watched 3 or more seconds of our first video. We actually want to ask people to start putting on our leads, whether it be on our website or in app forms. And again, I've got a few examples for you here that we can look at. If it works, there you go. So again, these are all of these are our clients. The top left is Europe Car, and again, they've got £10 driving credit at the time, and you've got things like Bronwyn in the bottom right there. But again, these are all stuff that you guys can do internally, and again, it doesn't take tons of resource. You can set all this up yourselves. And then the bottom of funnel, which we call the BFF, not the bottom funnel, can border funnels, which is we're going to target people that have watched 3 or more seconds in the last 30 days, but reduce and remove those that have watched in the last 5 days. So what's going to happen is you're going to have your first video. They're going to have 5 days of your ad, which is the doorbuster, and then they're going to have 25 days of the BFF, which is, again, this type of content here, which is all about referrals and people telling you how great you are. And again, we've got some examples here. So that's a really simple funnel that you can actually implement in your ads manager. Again, without the help of an agency, you can actually go ahead and implement this. And again, if you can get some testimonials, they work so well. I prefer video. Again, it works better with video testimonials, especially if it's authentic. But again, if you can get any of those, again, these are some of our clients here giving testimonials. They work an absolute treat. So that's the funnel. If anyone would like that free ad strategy, give me a shout after and I can just send that across in a PDF. And then the last one is really called an OMNI 8. And this is just how to retarget people without annoying them. Because we've all done it. We've all gone onto a website, whether to buy some black jeans or something of that ilk, and just been bombarded across all our social platforms with ad after ad after ad, 20% off, or here's free delivery. And to retarget people in a way that's not annoying is quite hard. So we've created something called the OMNI 8. Now, this is where someone's hit one of your landing pages or they've hit your website, and you can then retarget them for essentially 8 weeks, or you could do 8 days, you could do 4 weeks, however long you want to do it. But it's a basic awareness campaign, which means it's really cheap, and you can keep this on constantly in the background as all your other marketing is going. And really we want to create 8 ads or 8 pieces of content, which is sort of value-based, maybe some demonstrations of some of the children doing maybe sports or in class. some call to actions, which is, here, fill in your details, some more, more direct, and also hopefully some testimonials. And it actually looks like this. So this is how it look in your ad account. So you could do here, website visitors in the last 7 days. And what you're going to do is you're going to create 8 ad sets and 8 ads. Now, the reason why you'd have to create 8 ad sets here, and again, for people that don't have an ad manager account, apologies, this won't make too much sense. But why we've done an ad set versus an ad on both levels is that you can set times between each one. So rather than them all bombarding your prospect straight away, you can set time. So you could do every 3 days they get a certain ad. And again, it could be value, it could be demonstration, then it could be more testimonials, then it could be call to action again. You can have that running constantly. So when you're spending all this money on maybe out of home, or it would be leaflets, whatever it may be, if they're being directed to your website, we don't want them to be lost in the world of the internet. We want them to still see content from you. And again, depending on the volume of traffic you get to your website, you could have this running at £5 a day once it's set up. And actually, you can have it running for 6 months, really. It doesn't really matter. As long as the content's in keeping with the time, and obviously there's stuff you want to be shown, you could just have this constantly running. And again, if you're spending money on other avenues of marketing, this is a really nice way to use Facebook, use Instagram, and just get people knowing about your brand, or obviously your school, without, again, annoying them. Because like I said, it's so frustrating when you see these retargeting ads and it's just in your face bloody constantly, and unfortunately we get them too often. But I have got a bit of I guess just a bit of help for you guys. If anyone wants to set up the OMNI 8 and they're struggling, we've got something called the Ads Clinic, where you can log on, putting your details in, and Nick, who's my business partner, and one of the team will be able to jump on your ad account with you and actually help set this up. So if anyone's struggling to set it up, you can have a sort of 20-minute free call with one of my guys, and they'll help you set it up. So it's just a bit of insurance for you, because although those funnels and that OMNI 8 is brilliant, we understand some of you may not be really a favourite of Ads Manager or even have one set up. So if you would like any help, there's a bit of insurance for you. But that is my presentation. Hopefully you've all enjoyed it. Like I said, if anyone's got any questions, please reach out, maybe for Alicia, and over to yourself.
Well, thank you. That was really interesting. I think there'll be a lot of people on this call who don't know that much about Facebook advertising and perhaps outsource it to an agency. So I think it was really good to hear your tips, because I think there'll be a lot of people who can now go away and have conversations with the people they work with and say, look, how about trying the OMNI 8, and just different ideas. So thank you so much, James. I think that was brilliant. There is a feedback form, everybody. If you can fill it in, I would be really, really grateful. We want to develop this series. It's brilliant to have experts like James, not from the education sector, sharing his expertise. I know that as marketers, we are sort of jack of all trades. Sometimes we don't feel like we're a master of any. So it is great to bring these people in for these webinars. So please, please, please do complete the feedback and tell us what else you'd like to hear. I'll also send everybody James's details so that you can get in touch with him if you'd like to ask him any questions. I hope that's all right, James. And then I'd just like now to hand over to Campus 24. I think it fits perfectly with everything that we've been hearing about today, because we generate we generate that interest, but how do we make sure we get that lead generation and that personalized experience? So there's probably people on this call who already use Campus 24 who it might be worth you staying on, because I know they've launched a lot of new features, especially those of you who might have had a demo in the past. It definitely is worth hearing about. As I say, I was really excited when I was shown it. So I'd like to hand over to Veronica, please.
Thank you, Alicia, and thank you, James. That was awesome. I found it very interesting. I hope you all did too. So I'm conscious of your time, so I'm going to be very quick. But what I want to do quickly is just give you a real high-level overview of what Campus 24 is, with the focus obviously today being on student admissions. So you should be able to see my screen now, but essentially Campus 24 is a way for you to personalise your school collateral whether that's for a parent, whether it's for a candidate, whether it's for alumni, simply because our platform has got 4 different use cases, essentially: student admissions, staff recruitment, alumni engagement, and fundraising and development. But obviously today I'm going to focus on student admissions. I'm just going to jump ahead to the kind of 4 main features really of Campus 24, and that is it allows our content to be instantly accessible. That is trackable on a unique URL, which of course gives you real-time data and real-time insight. And I think most importantly, it's platform agnostic or mobile optimized, just meaning it can be accessed on any device. So I'm going to click in very quickly into what the 3 interfaces of Campus 24 are. And really at the heart of Campus 24 is our new automation builder. That's almost like our engine room. And what that does is this lives on your website as a button, which I'm going to come on to a second, and that allows you to really generate your new leads as well as converting your existing leads. And what that does is it allows parents or the school to build a really personalized experience for students or potential families to understand really what it's like at your school, what sets you apart from the crowd, what your USPs are, why a student would want to come to your school in the first place. And of course, what that also does is it offers a really, really insightful school dashboard, which allows you to manage those leads, to analyze those leads, and obviously convert them from an initial inquiry into a conversion. So let me just come on to the student side of things. So essentially, like I mentioned, one of our modules is for student admissions, and that's really twofold. So number 1, you've got your student recruitment, and what that does is that offers the opportunity to generate new leads, convert existing leads, and obviously within that act as a revenue generation tool, which I'm going to show you in just a second. One of the most important things that does for you is it not only gives you a really transparent ROI, and I think that's a nice segue into James's presentation there, but it also is an extremely effective way of demonstrating that ROI. It gives you a great insight into your audience, widens your reach. In addition to that, we've also got our student marketing side of things, and I'm going to show you both examples. But basically what that does is that offers you the ability to have a digital prospectus that can work very nicely with your student onboarding. It gives the opportunity for you to personalize your prospectus no matter what the entry level is. And of course, that can be used really nicely at open days, events. It can be used in conjunction with agents. So essentially, Campus 24 really works very well in conjunction with your school website, but of course is going to work alongside all of the content that you've currently got. So let me just show you a quick example of how this content can be personalized. So imagine you've got an inquiry from Emily. So Emily's 15, her and her parents are looking at a 6th form place. Emily might love hockey, lots of different sports, very keen musician, she loves chemistry. University application sport is also important to her. So at this point, what are your options? So it might be the admissions team set up a call. It might be you send her an email to arrange a further meeting. It might be you send her a PDF copy of your prospectus. All of this is probably going to come from a huge amount of content that's on your website. So what should Emily be getting at this stage? So this is an example of a personalized prospectus specifically for Emily based upon what she's interested in. Now, I'm going to go through this bit in a little bit more detail, but I'm sure you'll all agree at this point, this looks like it's taken a long time, doesn't it? And I'm going to come on to that in just a second. But essentially what this does, you'll see this link at the top of that. This is essentially what we call a microsite or a personalized URL. Now, this is trackable, it's shareable. So for example, if Emily's grandparents might be paying for the school fees, that can be sent to them. But more importantly, it's unique. So it's a permanent URL. Now, this is then going to not only engage Emily and her family. It's also going to include CTAs to further them into that, kind of candidate admission pool, or student admission pool rather. But what it's also going to do is it's going to give Emily the information that she's actually interested in, that she's actually cares about. So you'll see all of these, all of this menu on the side here is going to take Emily further into the student admissions portal. So you've got a welcome, and this could be, it could be a video, it could be an image, it could be a PDF, it could be any number of content which you deem suitable. And of course, what it's also going to do is it's also going to have a number of different CTAs. So it might be a welcome from the head to admissions, it might be fees, it might be term dates, but you'll see that these are all these are essentially what we call hotspots, which can be trackable on the school dashboard, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So again, all these different things that are completely customizable for the school. Again, it might be hockey, it might be the league table, it might be a recent video, but all of these things, of course, are going to make Emily feel that her inquiry has actually been looked at, it's been customized, it's going to make her feel very special, it's going to interest the family, but more importantly, what it's going to do is differentiate you as a school. So again, what I want to show you now, because I'm conscious of your time, is just the fact that this again does look like it's taken a long time. So now I'm going to show you how it's actually going to be created. So this is just a mock website. So imagine this was on your own website, and within that, you've got obviously all of the content at the top, which is very, very typical of a school website, whether it's boarding, whether it's school life, all your different entry points. And then our automation builder, which you've just seen, is going to live on your website. It's going to be a button that we typically suggest should be on every page. It can be a menu bar here, which I'm going to show you. And now the parents have then got an option, and this can also be school-led as well. So obviously it can be parent-led, parents are sitting at home with their child, but of course the staff in your admissions team would also have the ability to do that. So they are now going to go ahead and click into the areas of interest to them. Now, of course, these areas of interest are going to be decided by the school. We'll obviously give you feedback on that, but this is just an example to let you see what it might look like. So I'm going to try and recreate what I've just shown you there. So for example, let's say we are interested in extracurricular activities, we're interested in sixth form, we're interested in scholarships, we're interested in university destinations, the curriculum, resources, and I'm also interested in health and well-being. So I'm now going to click next. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to enter my student details, my parent details, and in this part here is the real lead capture for you. So this is going to capture the parents' details, it's going to capture the phone number. So obviously when you're going through your admission funnel, really, really easy for you to capture these leads. And then as simple as this, I'm going to click link. Now what this is going to do, it's going to go to your email as well, but the link is also going to be instantly available. So within seconds of that inquiry, Emily is then going to receive this information, or sorry, Charlie in this case, because I've named it after my child. So you'll see this is obviously going to be branded to your school colours, your school logos, but also obviously what this has done already, it is given Emily or the potential student the information that they are interested in. And of course, all of these hotspots here are all going to be the information that she actually cares about. It's going to be customizable to her, personalized, but more importantly for you as an admission team, you're then going to be able to track that information. So what does it look like from a lead capture potential? So this again is the back end, and you're going to see here that it's very, very easy for me to see. So immediately I can see the name of the student, I can see when the search was actually generated, what the contact number is, and what the email is. So again, for you, this is a great bank of leads that you might not have already known about because they may have went on to the next page or the next school in their search without actually completing that form. And I think this for you is really the huge lead generation tool, but also the way that you can then nurture that student through the application process. How are we for time, Alicia? We've got about 2 minutes left, I think.
Yeah, I think everyone will want to hear about this, though, because it is brilliant that you can get this lead generation. So yeah, carry on, Veronica.
So this back end here, this is twofold. So you've got your school side. So that would be obviously if a parent was phoning the admissions office, the admissions team were taking some details and sending that out to them instantly. Or from the parent side is obviously what parents are doing, obviously, when they're looking at your websites. You're still going to have access to both. And then more importantly, what this is going to do as a dashboard is going to let you see overall what that engagement is. So it's going to show you how long people have been engaging with your content, where they've been engaging with your content. So from a marketing perspective, in terms of, you know, cost effectiveness, it's also going to serve you two purposes there. One has been what content is working for you, okay? So in terms of the paid adverts that Jamie was talking about, it's going to let you see which of those paid adverts are obviously generating most interest and most engagement. So that's one side of it. The second side of it, it's also going to let you see what content of your marketing and what aspects of your marketing is generating more interest in terms of how long parents are engaging with that content. So insofar as giving parents what they're actually most interested in, really useful tool there in terms of making sure that parents are engaging with the right content and that you're providing the right content. So again, this dashboard is going to show you calls to actions. So for example, is apply here? Is it come, you know, register for an open day? Is it speak to the head of department? Which of those calls to actions are actually working for you? So from a marketing effectiveness tool, super important. It's going to let you see where the views are, obviously what areas are most interested in. And it's going to give you as well an overall total generated parent experience and a view as well from that user generated content. Been actually a lot of work recently in regard to user generating content and how effective it's been, because it offers that, you know, that personalized information right away. And it kind of goes back to that instant gratification, isn't it? When you're on a school website, or whatever the website may be, you're looking for that instant gratification. You want the information that you're most interested in quickly. You don't want to have to wait. So something that I say to the schools that we're working with, particularly when parents now even more so tend to have 4, 5, 6, 7, if not more schools on their website. So if you imagine a parent sitting at home with their children, they get this fantastic personalized URL that they can then engage with. The likelihood, of course, of them going on to the next ones on their list that maybe don't have this is obviously going to be reduced. And I think that for you is really, really important, particularly in such a competitive market. So let me stop there to see if there's maybe any questions in the chat. I know this has been a really, really quick demo, and obviously I would love to tell you more. And Alicia, I know that you can certainly facilitate that, so we can set up a bit more of a personalised demo. There might be some of you on the call that think, you know, this might be of interest to our HR team. As I mentioned, we also offer the same platform for a recruitment portal as well for schools. So a lot of schools use us for their recruitment, for staff, also for their student admissions and their alumni, or it might be a combination of all three. And I would definitely love to speak to you more about how we can benefit you. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Veronica.